Hello, music lovers. Welcome back. Have you heard of the 10,000 hours rule? Researcher Malcolm Gladwell found that, on average, it took around 10,000 hours of good practice to truly master a difficult skill. Those of you watching this will be at different points in your journey, practicing, be it DJing, mixing, engineering, producing, chords, how to not look like an idiot in selfies on social media, etc., etc. However, I've got a very large bet on what you are not practicing, and that's finishing. Nope, not that kind of finishing. We have no problems there. I'm talking about your tracks, of course. For finishing is its own practice. That's the idea I want to sell you the virtues of in this video. Let's go. Of any potentially quotable things I've said in my career, I think this is the one I am most proud of. It's not released because it was finished. It's finished because it was released. If I was ever going to make a t-shirt, I think that would be the one. Let me know if you're interested, by the way. Anyway, what I'm trying to say there is the only difference between something that's finished and something that's not finished is that you, or someone else, decided that it was finished and released it. That's all it is. There's no magical process or event that triggers you to think, this is now finished. That never happens. It's like how Elon Musk once said, if you give yourself 30 days to clean your house, it will take 30 days. Whereas if you give yourself 3 hours, you'll get it done in 3 hours. Music is no different. That track will never be perfect. You will be chasing that infinitely disappearing horizon forever. You just have to pick a point and decide. Have you ever noticed how much easier it is to finish something when you are finishing something for someone else? There's no better decider on whether a track is finished than a deadline or a budget. Of course, I bring you this advice with the benefit of hindsight. I wasn't always this proficient. Here's a good example. This little passion project with a friend that you see on screen here took many, many years to produce just 6 tracks. I've seen both sides of the story, because on the other end of the spectrum, I have stories like how a demo that took just 4 hours ended up as a soundtrack to an iconic UK drinks company. Another demo that was actually unfinished and we were about to throw away because it wasn't working is currently in my top earning publishing royalties this month because a label heard it and insisted they released it as is. And my favourite example, of course, my cover of Wicked Game with Seren was heavily criticised for the use of seagulls in the intro and outro, for being way too long an arrangement, for having no radio edit at all, and was sat online for 5 years before anyone noticed it. Then suddenly 79 million views. Now, I'm not trying to say these kinds of things happen every day, but the only reason I get to tell you any of these stories is because I have already finished and released so many tracks. What you will eventually find after years of being an artist is, if it's not out in the world, you will never know if it was any good. Because ultimately, it's not you that gets to decide that. The audience does. Neither me nor any of the artists I have met could predict the successes or failures of any of those releases. Okay, so this is all much easier said than done. Let's tackle some of the underlying reasons it's so hard to finish tracks. One reason can be is that you are second-guessing sound quality. You just don't know if it sounds good enough. One I see a lot when people ask for track feedback. Perfectly understandable, you probably don't have a great monitoring situation, therefore you're simply not confident in your sound yet. My response, though, is always the same. Believe it or not, the thing that matters least is sound quality. Trust me, if you have made that track on gear or software, which is from the last 5 or even 10 years, it's fine. All these YouTube mix tutorials have got you seriously overthinking things. The days of which EQ you use mattering are long gone. I think it's actually very hard to make a track these days that would have such bad sound quality that it would affect its streaming performance. Again, I am saying this with the benefit of hindsight because I know there are much bigger problems on the horizon worth more of your time, like how to get noticed or how to get a brand, rather than does my kick drum sound as good as John Summit's? And if you're still worried, go and watch my video on why do you sound amateur. Okay, so another big reason, fear. Now this is a big topic, I will do a separate video, but for now, did you know there's actually conscious fear and unconscious fear? It turns out there's a biological reason we are scared to finish creative work. So just know that that is normal, don't worry about it. Now on the conscious side, looking at the demographic of this channel, I can see a lot of my viewers might be unjustly scared based on how the music industry used to operate. If you are not used to releasing music in the modern day, industry or otherwise, you might still be thinking that a bad release could tank your entire career. This used to be the case, but nowadays that's not the case at all. It's like that Futurama episode where Leela found a boil on her bottom. The boil turned out to be Susan Boyle, the infamous singer, and it sang whenever she was in the shower. One day everyone found out and she was a laughingstock. The next day, she saw someone laughing at their phone screen and presumed they were laughing at the meme of her which had gone viral. But it turns out they were laughing at the next meme of the day. She was old news in just 24 hours. And with 100,000 tracks uploaded every day to Spotify, don't worry. If you have a bad release, you're just going to be yesterday's news. One of the other 100,000 tracks that day. But at least it is out there. As the saying goes, one person's trash is another person's treasure. Who's to say in 5 years' time that your track won't go viral via some happenstance, just like my Wicked Game cover did? You can never know. The only thing you can say for certain is that if it is never released, it will never have that opportunity. And conversely, the quicker it is released, the more chance it has to have that opportunity. So in other words, you get to fail for free. Because instead of being lambasted by critics, you'll just be forgotten. You get infinite tries. This game is on free play. I'm still embarrassed by my early releases, but luckily no one pays attention to them. You have to start releasing sometime. You'll hear it said by various thought leaders that the difference between an amateur and a professional is simply that the professional has failed more. And that's analogous to what happens in music. Those who release more, learn more, and get more opportunities. In other words, we need to get you from this cycle over to this cycle. When you learn that it is not for you to decide what is good and that nothing bad can happen from a release, that is your green light to go. Any tracks left sat on your hard drive that you did not know what to do with, get them out. You can always re-release and remix later. You have infinite tries, remember. Until it's out there, with results good or bad, all of your hours spent producing, mixing, sound designing, chording, it's all still just guesswork, and you can't learn from guesswork. Turn it into answers and turn it into opportunity. Start practicing finishing and start practicing releasing. It will bring its own lessons, which you can then feed back into your future music. Okie dokie, I'm going to leave it there. I hope it helped you in some way. If it did, you can return the favour by pressing some buttons for me, or you can also buy me a coffee from the link in the description if you are so inclined. Thank you very much for watching, and until next week, I'll see you in the comments. Bye-bye.